You applied, you waited, and then the email came back and said your application was not approved at this time. No explanation, no phone number to call, no breakdown of what went wrong, just a decline. And so you did what every business owner does. You started guessing. Maybe the business is too new. Maybe my revenue is too low. Maybe they just do not like my industry. And because you were guessing, you fixed the wrong thing, waited a few months, applied again, and got declined again. I am going to end the guessing today. There are 6 real reasons business credit applications get denied, and I have seen every one of them repeatedly. Most of them have nothing to do with what business owners assume, and almost all of them are fixable, but only if you know which one you are actually dealing with. Before we get into the list, I need to correct the single biggest misconception about business credit: denials. Most people believe a denial means they were evaluated and found to be not good enough. That is usually not what happened. In the majority of denials I see, the applicant was never really evaluated on merit at all. They were screened out by an automated check before a human ever looked at anything. That distinction matters enormously because you cannot fix a screening failure by improving your business. You fix it by fixing the data. So let us start. Reason number 1. Your business information does not match across systems. This is the most common denial cause and the one almost nobody suspects. When you submit an application, the vendor or lender runs your business information against the credit bureaus and often against public records and third-party data sources. They are checking whether the business you say you are is the business that exists in the data. Your legal name, your address, your phone number, and your entity type all get cross-referenced. If your application says one thing and the bureau file says another, the system flags it. Not because anyone thinks you are lying, but because mismatched data is a fraud indicator and fraud screening runs before credit evaluation. Here is how this happens to honest business owners. You formed your LLC with your home address because that is what you had at the time. Later, you got a real business address and started using it on applications, but you never updated your state filing, your EIN record, or your bureau files. Now, half the systems have address A and your application says address B. Or you registered your business as a longer legal name with punctuation. And on applications, you type the short version you actually use day to day. To you, those are the same business. To a matching algorithm, they are 2 different strings. Or your phone number changed. Or you have a suite number that appears on some records and not others. Or your entity type was updated and one system never got the memo. Every one of these produces the same outcome: flagged, declined, no explanation. The fix is tedious, but completely within your control. Write down your business information exactly as it appears on your state filing. That is your source of truth. Then go check every other place it lives and make them match. Your EIN record with the IRS, your bureau files, your bank account, your business listings, your website, your vendor applications. Reason number 2, your file is thin and thin gets read as risky. This one hurts because it feels unfair, and I understand why. Business owners tell me all the time I have never missed a payment on anything in my life. So why am I being treated as high risk? Because you are not being evaluated on your history. You are being evaluated on your file. And if your file has almost nothing in it, there is nothing to evaluate. Scoring models are prediction engines. They look at data and forecast likelihood of future behavior. When there is very little data, the model cannot make a confident prediction. And low confidence gets treated as elevated risk. This is the single most counterintuitive thing about business credit, and I want to say it as clearly as I can. Having no negative history is not the same as having positive history. A file with 0 trade lines does not read as clean. It reads as unknown. And underwriters are not in the business of extending credit to unknowns. The fix here is mechanical. You need accounts that actually report. You need more than 1 or 2 of them, and you need them reporting over enough time to establish a pattern. There is no shortcut that skips the time component, but there is a wrong way to do it, which is applying to a bunch of places at once hoping something sticks, and I will explain why that backfires shortly. Reason number 3. You applied to the wrong tier for where you actually are. This is the reason I see cost people the most opportunity, because they were genuinely close to being approvable, and they burned the application anyway. Business credit works in tiers. The earliest tier is made up of vendors who extend small amounts of credit on short terms, often to businesses with very little established history, because their risk exposure is low. Higher tiers extend larger amounts, and they expect to see that you have already handled the lower tiers successfully. What happens constantly is that a business owner reads about a well-known card or a substantial credit line, gets excited, and applies for it as one of their first moves. There is no established file behind them. There are no reporting trade lines. And the answer comes back no. Now, here is why this matters more than a single decline. That business owner just learned the wrong Zoll lesson. They concluded that business credit does not work, or that they do not qualify for anything, when the accurate conclusion was much narrower. They applied several steps ahead of where their file was. The tier system is not a suggestion. Underwriters at higher tiers explicitly want to see that other creditors have already taken a chance on you and been paid. You are asking them to be first, and first is the most expensive position to be in. The fix is sequencing. Start where your file can actually get approved, let those accounts report, and let time do part of the work. Then step up. Every approved account makes the next approval easier, which is why the order matters so much more than the speed. Reason number 4, something on your file is not actually yours or is wrong. Business credit files get built through data matching, and data matching makes mistakes. Records get attached to your file based on name and address similarity, and if there is a business somewhere with a similar name, or if a previous tenant at your address had a business, or if a record was entered with a typo, that information can land on your file. I have seen files with trade lines the owner never opened, files showing an address the business never operated from, files with a public record belonging to an entirely different company that happened to share a name, and files where the years and business number was wildly wrong, making an established business look brand new. Any of these will produce declines, and the owner has no idea because they have never looked at the file. There is also a version of this that is not an error at all, but still causes problems. Information that is accurate but outdated. An old address that is technically real but no longer current. A closed account still showing as open, a balance that was paid off but has not updated. This is exactly why pulling your own reports matters, and why I made a whole video on reading them line by line. You cannot dispute what you have not seen, and you cannot fix a file you have never opened. If you find something that is not yours, dispute it directly with the bureau reporting it, in writing, with documentation. Business credit disputes do not have the same structured legal timelines that personal credit disputes do. So be organized, be specific, and follow up. Vague disputes get ignored. Specific ones with documentation attached get resolved. And I want to add something practical here. Do not submit another application while you have a significant error sitting on your file, especially a public record that is not yours. Every application you send during that window is one you are almost certainly going to lose, and each one adds an inquiry. You are spending opportunities on a race you cannot win until the file is corrected. Fix first, apply second. That order is not optional if there is something materially wrong on your report. Reason number 5, you applied too many times too fast. Business credit inquiries do not carry the same weight as personal credit inquiries, and I want to be accurate about that rather than fearmonger. A handful of inquiries spread over time is normal business behavior, and nobody is going to hold it against you. But a dense cluster of applications in a short window tells a story, and it is not a good one. To an underwriter looking at your file, 10 inquiries in 3 weeks reads as a business that is urgently shopping for money and getting turned down repeatedly. Whether or not that is true, that is what the pattern communicates. There is a compounding problem here too. Most people who apply rapidly are doing it because they got denied and are trying again somewhere else. So the inquiries pile up at exactly the moment their file is weakest. Each denial leads to another application, which adds another inquiry, which makes the next application slightly worse. That is a spiral, and I have watched people ride it all the way down. The fix is discipline, which is harder than it sounds when you need funding. Space your applications out. Fix the underlying issue before reapplying, rather than immediately trying the next vendor. And critically, when you get denied, treat it as information rather than as a door to try harder on. A denial is telling you something about your file. Applying somewhere else immediately does not change your file. It just gets you the same answer from a different company. Reason number 6. Your foundation was never actually complete. This is the one underneath all the others, and it is where most of the denials I see actually originate. Business credit sits on top of a business foundation. That foundation is a specific set of items, and lenders and vendors check for them either directly or through data providers. When one of them is missing, you do not get told which one. You just get declined. The foundation items are not complicated, but they are non-negotiable. A properly formed entity, an EIN, a dedicated business bank account in the business name, a business phone number, a real business address that is not a P.O. box, a professional web presence with a business email on your own domain, registration with the bureaus so a file actually exists. That includes getting your DUNS number from Dun & Bradstreet and being registered with Experian Business and Equifax Business. Every single item on that list is something an underwriter or an automated system can and does verify. Miss one and you look incomplete. Miss two or three and you look like someone who has not really set up a business at all, regardless of how real your business is. And here's what makes this reason so frustrating for the people it happens to. They did most of it. They formed the LLC, they got the EIN, they opened the bank account. They did 70% of the work. But business credit approval is not scored on effort. It is checked against a list, and partial completion of a checklist produces the same result as not starting it. So let me tie all 6 together. Mismatched information across systems, a thin file with nothing to evaluate, applying to a tier above where your file actually sits, errors or outdated information sitting on your report, too many applications too fast, and an incomplete foundation underneath all of it. Notice what is not on this list. Not being good enough, not deserving credit, not being a real business. None of the 6 reasons are about your worth as a business owner. They are all about data, sequencing, and setup, which means every single one of them is fixable. Start with the foundation because it is underneath everything else and because it is the fastest thing to verify. Get the free 8-point Business Fundability Checklist and go through it item by item before you submit another application anywhere. If you find a gap, you just found your denial reason. The link is in the description and on my channel page.